There's a place, a school, an institution where a professor resides. One that for the past 30 years has traveled the world teaching others. A pioneer in America of the fighting science of Savate. One who codified the sports of this fighting style. One who has produced clubs, champions, and continues to develop. Listen to words of Professor Buitron. Come train at the best kept secret of Laredo. Buitron Academy, 956-401-4868. Savate.biz.
Hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's getting a little bit happy after the Super Bowl. If your team's won, I'm glad they did. I haven't watched a Super Bowl in a very long time. Okay. Tell you why, because I was usually working on Sundays. There was always something that happened on Sunday, so I would set it aside. Became second nature that I would only catch probably the halftime or something like that when everybody was kind of at ease, because I was always out working. Well, anyway, that's just the way life is. Okay, you always have to keep on moving forward. On another note, we have The Roots of the Lone Star. I've got news. That's a book on the Sacatripas. It should be here this Thursday. We already have a lot of people wanting it. We've had it for a long time. I will be posting a video. So next Monday video, we're going to be talking about the books, and we're going to be talking about that stuff. But if you want one, drop me a line, an email. It's and I'll tell you how much it is. It's not that expensive. It's $80. It won't cut you off. It's not going to make you any poorer than you are, any richer than what you are. It's not going to hurt your bank account. It's $80 plus shipping here in the continental United States. Drop me a line at Buitron Academy 2012 at gmail.com. Tell me that you want the book of The Roots of the Lone Star, and I'll send you a signed copy. I'm going to be signing it. Okay. Now, let's touch base on the following. We had a competition yesterday. We had the first American stick fighting competition, which we had 10 scheduled bouts, and there were several that forfeited. Well, that's just the way it is. There were several that couldn't make it. Several got COVID. There was a lot of different elements that came through it. There's a lot of different excuses, you want to say that. But all in all, we had some great fights. We had to get the show moving forward and keep it moving. That's under the Gentlemen's Stick Fighting Coalition, which is under USA Savate. And I reffed those fights. We had Coach Mechanical reffing one as well, and it was very, very interesting. It's the best seat in the house. It's a great event. If you can't compete and you want to still be involved with the sports, become an official, become a second, train somebody, get a team going, get a crew going. It's a beautiful thing out there. You have to understand one thing. Savate Dance Rue also has sports, has the stick fighting, which is where our kind is at, and also has boxing Savate. If we had more, we'll be doing USA boxing as well. The problem is gaining those that really want to compete, because it's competing and learning the art and going to class and all that are totally two different things. Those two different things are very much in value. Okay, you can just do those things separately. Learn the sport, learn for the street. But in actuality, you need both to make a better fighter. I'm going to tell you something right now, and I want you all to ponder. The question is, why do you do Savate? Okay. I had a call last week by a student. He's been my student, been around the school, around me for a very long time. And he says, you know what, Professor, I love Savate so much. It's the best thing that I've ever done was be around you, be around the school. God almighty, the techniques, I still know them in my head. I still go with them in my head. Savate, if it wasn't for Savate, I wouldn't have finished school. If it wasn't for Savate, I wouldn't be working where I'm working at today. If it wasn't for Savate. And I told him, great. I go, You're in Dallas. Do you support any of the two clubs of Savate in Dallas? Oh, there's clubs in Dallas? Of course there is. There's always been one. One has been the second longest Savate club in the U.S., which is Left Hook Savate Club, which is run by aide monitor Kendall Martin. And the other one is a movement that's out there as well, which is run by aide monitor Clyde Castorena, Neil guy. Those movements meet. They meet all the time. Well, Professor, the last time I was around there, all the guys was, you were here back in Dallas. I said, man, that's 2018. Was the last time I was in Dallas. We did a seminar. I know that very well. I go, folks, if you love not only Savate, any other martial art with that much passion, support the local club. Go talk to the coach. I don't care whether it's Savate, Thai boxing, Eskrima, Silat, Kung Fu. I don't care what it is, Mongolian, yak fucking. I don't care what martial art you do. Okay? But what I'm going to tell you is if you love it so much, become part of the club that's there. Send your kids to that club if you love it as well. To send your grandkids, your nephews, your neighbors, push them to that club. You support it as well. You really don't want to work out, you don't want to compete, but you love the competition, become a coach, become a corner, become an official. Let me tell you something. We are in a very confused time frame. I'll tell you why. Because in this time frame, everything is open to us, everything is given to us in our hands. All right. I'll tell you, you look in the internet, you look in YouTube, you can find many individuals teaching self-defense from all around the world. There's a lot of great, beautiful content. There's a lot of good historical content. There's a lot of great individuals out there. And I thank you all for watching and for supporting us, subscribing for us. And I'll remind you that if you like this, subscribe. If you like the channel, click that little bell, because there's a lot of content that we have. There's a lot of things that we've done. And what I'm going to say is this: 100 years ago, you would fight. 100 years ago, exactly today, in 1922, if you were in Paris, you can find and register yourself or your child or your wife to train in Savate. Imagine that. And train 200 years ago, 1822, you can find a club in Paris and train in Savate. You can find a club in Marseille and train in Savate. Okay? If we go further back in time, then we start learning the indigenous, the regional martial arts that were around. Savate was taught in the 1700s as well. But Savate in the 1700s was kept alive in the underworld. There were people that knew it, had certain techniques. It was not as developed as it was in the 1800s. Okay? In the 1900s, it was more codified as it was. Or in 2000, as more prolific as it is right now. But you could always find it. I guarantee you that 100 years ago in the United States, or actually, let's just take Paris. You could find a Japanese martial art. You can find jiu-jitsu. You can find boxing. You can find fencing. You can find Turkish wrestling. And of course, Savate and box français were very much prevalent back then. Now, what I'm trying to get at is this. anywhere in the United States, Savate is not that well rounded. It's a rare art. Okay. Very few schools of us left. Very, very few schools. That's why I encourage everybody, if you really want to become something, if you really want to do something, I'm here to help you. We'll help you produce a movement and for you to move forward for the art. Why? Because we love the art. But if you wanted to learn how to fight, there were very few. There were boxing schools everywhere. 20 years ago, there were boxing schools in every club, in every town. Usually, somebody was teaching boxing. That's the widest spread martial art, I guess, in the world, but here in the United States. Second to that, it's probably going to be judo and taekwondo. Probably taekwondo is going to beat that. Right now, in our time frame, people can look up in the internet any martial art they can, connect with those individuals that they want to, do video study, do online courses. They can do anything they want to learn. They self-motivate. So if you actually love that art so much, you're going to do it. So that comes to my next question. Are you hungry to do this, do Savate? Do you actually want to learn it? Savate can be anything else. Could be work, could be going back, learn a trade. I look at this as a vocation, something that you can teach on the side, something that can help you as an added vocation, an added skill for yourself. You can make a living. Understand? So everybody always says, why do you do the martial arts? Well, I want to learn the martial arts to fight. Okay, fine, great. I did that. It burned the candle. It's still burning inside me right now. I was 6 years old, went to go play in the playground and got my ass kicked. Came home, bleeding from my ears, bleeding, my lip, bit me in the back. The next day, my dad took me to my uncle and he said, teach him how to fight. Little did I know what he was teaching me. And I grew up with that. And believe me, that fight when I was 6 still burns in me right now. And I want to thank those guys back then that did that, because it burned me to what I am now. I want to thank my high school counselor for telling me that I wasn't going to amount to anything, because I was always getting into a fight, and fighting doesn't make a good living. And fighting is not going to get you no. Well, little was you wrong, right? Well, anyway, I want to thank them for doing that, because that lit fires in me. And every day after that, especially when I started teaching, started realizing that I wanted to leave an impression, a good one, for those students to come in and for them to use that fire, that passion that burns, for them to continue using it in their daily lives. That's something that I've tried to do. That's something that I did with the sport. I could no longer fight the ring. That didn't stop me from producing fighters. It didn't stop me from producing an organization that was going to continue with the sport. The sports died not because of us. It died because of the nature of the time. We were in two different worlds. When we were in two different wars across the world, a whole generation gap disappeared. You had students that did not, or people that had Savate clubs that could not or did not understand how to financially keep them available open, that failed. That's just part of the life, And so now I'm trying to make sure that those that follow with Savate have an understanding on how to maintain those clubs alive. How are they going to keep them up and running? USA Boxing does, but USA Boxing, most of those programs are helped out by the police, and they're doing a great job with the PAL systems. Okay. Turn that energy of wanting to learn how to fight and turn it into a positive manner. Because fighting has always been around. People have always been taking their sons, their daughters and nephews, their grandkids to learn how to defend themselves. 100 years ago, they were doing it in Paris and throughout France in Savate. We're learning Savate. We're being taught. I want to tell you this. Savate had our Box Français Savate, not Savate. Box Français, not even Box Français Savate. Box Français, let me remind you, had already gone around the world. In 1843, it was being taught in Peking, China. They had schools in Turkey, all throughout Northern Africa, Tonkin, which was Vietnam. Okay. At schools in Japan, military school in Mexico, taught West Point at one time was teaching Savate. Well, not Savate, Box Français. And it kind of just died off, usually because the coaches, the professors and stuff there, they were by themselves, by them lonesomes, and eventually they die out and it goes away. The movement does. Okay. But the art hasn't died. It's still alive and kicking. So I'm telling you all this that say I love Savate so much. I want to learn. I want to produce it. I want to do it. Get involved. Help out the local club. Become a member of the club. Go train. People say, why do I have to go over there and pay tuition? Well, guess what? You're keeping it alive. If you really love it so much with passion, that tuition is going to keep that school alive to bring in others. Are you a member of the associations, the various associations, USA Savate as well as the International Guild? The International Guild maintains the rank within the martial arts system. USA Savate's it's a sporting entity, a historical foundation. They have a lot of programs for the youth, of course, and that's what it's for. But what I'm saying is, I love it. I keep on doing it, and when I'm 53, in 3 more years, I'll be doing it for 50 years. Imagine that. I'm telling you this. 100 years ago, in France, they were teaching Savate. That's what they were learning how to fight. And Box Français. And 200 years ago, they were learning Savate. Because 200 years ago, in 1822, they were teaching Savate. Box Français was yet to be discovered and found, which will still take another 10 years. And in 1832, a man by the name of Charles Leclerc was the one that founded Box Français. Okay, I'm going to leave you this in mind. Fighting is hard. We live in a hard world. Okay, I'm going to give you something here because it reminded me of an incident that happened last night. Actually, not last night, Saturday night. Local bar here, local bar where everybody goes and drinks and has a good time. Closed at 2:00. There's different stories out there, but apparently there was an altercation of two girls. These two guys went in there to try to stop the fight, what have you. There's different stories going out there. Pulled the girls apart. Well, the boyfriend of one of them comes back, pulls out a gun, shoots 3 people dead. He was arrested Sunday, yesterday, and it reminds me of this. That incident happens every weekend in a bar across the nation, sometimes 2-3 times per night, per weekend, across the United States and definitely across the world. That same story of a fight outside a bar. Somebody pulls out a gun, and guess what? Somebody ends up dead. Has been going on since the 1800s, 1700s. It always happens. I'm going to tell you something. I'm learning through experience. I want to tell you that if you get into an altercation inside the bar, you tell somebody a name, what have you, he comes out, you're talking to a girl, the girl smiles at you, you say hi, you send her a drink, ask her to dance, and her boyfriend doesn't understand what's going on. He doesn't understand that you've been rejected, or maybe it's a guy that's not even dating her. He also likes her. Comes at you and he sings it to you, tells you this, words are exchanged, and all of a sudden, guess what? You hit him a couple of times, the guy goes down. Two things should happen. While he's in the ground, he can pull out the gun when he's coming up and shoot you, or he's going to leave. And if you stay there, he's going to come back and shoot you when you leave the bar. So if you're ever in an altercation, God forbid, you leave right then and there. Don't stick around. Don't try to be the hero to stop a fight. It's not your job. Now, granted, if it's a self-defense situation, you have to do what you have to do. But in situations like that, leave. Okay, I'll leave you with that. Remember that this story that happened here in Laredo happens in every city across the nation. Now, it's early vote today. I want you all to go exercise your vote. Pick people that are going to push Texas forward. People that are going to push this nation forward. We need that. And again, if you love Savant, you want to train in Savant, please do so. Support your local clubs if there is some there in that area. If you do not have one in the area and you want to start training, drop me an email. My phone number's all over the place also. So drop me an email at buitronacademy2012@gmail.com and we'll get you started. All right, till next time. Much peace and you all take care.